In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, a peculiar reputation had taken hold. Humans, the inhabitants of the small blue planet called Earth, were known throughout the galaxy as the cowards of the cosmos. This notion, spread by the mighty Zorgans, had become a source of constant amusement for the advanced species that dominated the galactic stage. The Zorgans, a race of towering four-armed beings with metallic skin, ruled over the most powerful planets in the known universe. Their empire stretched across thousands of star systems, and their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's best innovations. From their capital world of Zor Prime, they looked down upon the humans with a mixture of contempt and pity. On a typical day in the Grand Hall of Galactic Affairs on Zor Prime, Ambassador Kraz Full stood before a gathering of alien diplomats. His booming voice echoed off the crystalline walls as he regaled the audience with tales of human cowardice. And then, Kraz Full chuckled, his silver skin gleaming under the light of 3 artificial suns. The humans sent us a message asking for peace talks. Can you believe it? They didn't even try to fight back when we annexed their outer colonies. The crowd erupted in laughter. Representatives from a dozen different species shook their heads, tentacles, or other appendages in disbelief. The Flexions, a race of gelatinous beings, quivered with mirth. The Xin, insectoid creatures known for their warlike nature, clicked their mandibles in derision. Ambassador Kraz Full continued, "They value their so-called diplomacy above all else. It's as if they don't understand the concept of galactic domination." He paused for effect, then added, "But what can you expect from a species that took thousands of years just to leave their own planet?" More laughter filled the hall. The humans' slow technological progress was a favorite topic of ridicule among the advanced races. Their fumbling attempts at space exploration were seen as childish and naive in a universe where faster-than-light travel was commonplace. In a corner of the hall, a small delegation from Earth sat silently, their faces red with embarrassment. They had grown used to this treatment, but it never stopped stinging. The human ambassador, a middle-aged woman named Sarah Chen, clenched her fists under the table, wishing she could defend her people's honor. But Sarah knew that any protest would only invite more mockery. The Zorgans and their allies were too powerful, too entrenched in their beliefs about human nature. Earth's policy of avoiding conflict and seeking peaceful resolutions was seen as weakness, not wisdom. As the laughter died down, a Zorgan general named Vexkor stepped forward. His battle-scarred face twisted into a sneer as he addressed the crowd. "Let me tell you about the time we tested the humans' defenses," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. Vexkor recounted a story of how the Zorgan fleet had entered Earth's solar system, easily bypassing their primitive detection systems. "We positioned our warships right above their major cities," he boasted. "Do you know what they did? Instead of readying their weapons, they broadcast a welcome message. They invited us to land and engage in cultural exchange." The hall erupted once again, alien diplomats slapping their knees, or equivalent body parts, in amusement. The story spread quickly through the room, each retelling exaggerating the humans' naivety and cowardice. As the day wore on, more and more stories were shared. Tales of humans backing down from fights, of their laughable attempts at galactic trade, of their quaint beliefs in equality and freedom. To the assembled aliens, these were not virtues but signs of a species unfit for the harsh realities of the universe. By the end of the session, it was clear that humanity's reputation was firmly cemented. They were the galaxy's jesters, a primitive race whose antics provided entertainment for the real powers of the universe. As the human delegation left the Hall of Galactic Affairs, they walked with slumped shoulders and downcast eyes. The weight of the galaxy's ridicule was heavy on their hearts. Little did anyone know, this constant mockery was slowly kindling a fire within humanity. A fire that would one day shock the galaxy and change the course of cosmic history. But for now, as the Earth ships departed Zor Prime, the laughter of the alien races followed them into the dark void of space. The humans were going home, labeled as cowards, dreamers, and fools. Yet in their hearts, a quiet determination was growing. One day, they would prove everyone wrong. One day, the galaxy would learn the true strength of humanity. The galaxy was about to face a challenge unlike any it had ever seen. On a quiet day, as the various alien races went about their usual business of conquest and ridicule, an alarm sounded in the deepest reaches of space. At first, no one paid much attention. Alarms were common in a galaxy full of wars and petty conflicts. But this alarm was different. It came from the most advanced detection systems of the Zorgans, the self-proclaimed masters of the universe. In the grand control room of Zor Prime, General Vexcor stared at the massive screen with wide eyes. His metallic skin had lost its usual shine, turning a dull gray with fear. "Impossible," he muttered, his forearms trembling as he input commands into the computer. But the readings were clear. A massive black hole, larger than any ever recorded, was moving through the galaxy at an incredible speed. It was consuming everything in its path. Stars, planets, entire solar systems vanished in its endless hunger. The news spread quickly. Panic gripped the galaxy as the greatest minds from every advanced race tried to find a solution. The Flexians' supercomputers ran trillions of simulations. The Tin Sin's warrior scientists proposed sending their entire armada to somehow fight the black hole. But nothing seemed to work. In an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council, representatives from all major species gathered to discuss the threat. The once grand hall of galactic affairs, usually filled with laughter and boasts, was now silent with fear. Ambassador Krasful, his voice lacking its usual mockery, addressed the council. "My fellow beings," he said, his words echoing in the quiet hall, "we face a threat that could end all life as we know it. Our best scientists estimate we have less than a galactic standard year before the black hole reaches the core worlds." A murmur of despair rippled through the crowd. Species that had been enemies for millennia now sat side by side, united in their fear. "What about the humans?" A small voice piped up from the back of the hall. It was Zip-Zap, a young Zorgan known for his unusual interest in Earth culture. "Have we asked them for ideas?" The suggestion was met with nervous laughter. Even in the face of annihilation, the thought of turning to humans for help seemed absurd to many. But as the hours passed and no solution presented itself, desperation began to set in. Finally, with great reluctance, the Council agreed to include Earth in the discussions. When the call came through to Earth's Space Command, the humans were surprised. They had grown used to being ignored or mocked by the galactic community. But now, as they listened to the explanation of the crisis, a spark of determination lit in their eyes. Dr. Samantha Chen, a brilliant physicist who had long been overlooked by the galactic scientific community, stepped forward. "We may have an idea," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The alien representatives leaned in, a mix of skepticism and desperate hope on their faces. Dr. Chen began to explain a radical theory involving the manipulation of dark matter to create a counterforce to the black hole's pull. As she spoke, the aliens exchanged glances. The idea seemed far-fetched, even impossible. But it was also the first proposal that offered even a glimmer of hope. "But," Dr. Chen continued, "to implement this plan, we would need to get dangerously close to the black hole. The risk would be extreme." The hall fell silent. The aliens, who had long mocked humans for their caution, now found themselves hesitating in the face of such danger. It was Ambassador Sarah Chen who broke the silence. Standing tall despite years of ridicule, she addressed the council. "We are willing to take this risk," she declared, "not just for humanity, but for all life in the galaxy." As the human delegation left to begin preparations, the aliens watched them go with new eyes. For the first time, they saw not cowardice in the humans' actions, but a different kind of courage, a willingness to face the unknown not with brute force, but with ingenuity and self-sacrifice. The galaxy held its breath. The black hole continued its relentless advance, and on a small blue planet, A team of scientists began work on a plan that would either save everyone or doom them to failure. The stage was set for humanity to prove its worth to the universe. In the days following the Galactic Council meeting, Earth became a hive of activity. Scientists from around the world gathered at a hastily assembled research facility in the heart of Geneva, Switzerland. At the center of this whirlwind stood Dr. Samantha Chen, her eyes bright with determination despite the dark circles beneath them. The facility buzzed with energy as humans worked tirelessly, their former alien mockers now watching via holographic projections with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Dr. Chen moved from station to station, her mind racing as she pieced together the most daring plan in human history. The key, she explained to a group of wide-eyed colleagues, is to create a device that can manipulate dark matter on a massive scale. We'll use it to generate a counterforce to the black hole's gravitational pull. Her words were met with a mix of excitement and doubt. The concept was revolutionary, pushing the boundaries of known physics. But the stakes were too high for doubt to hold them back. As the team worked, news of their efforts spread across Earth. People who had long felt ashamed of their species' galactic reputation now felt a glimmer of pride. In cities around the world, crowds gathered to watch updates on giant screens, cheering each small breakthrough. Weeks passed, and progress was made. The device, which they named the Dark Matter Deflector, or DMD, began to take shape. It was a massive spherical structure, filled with intricate machinery that seemed to defy conventional understanding. But as the project advanced, so did the approaching threat. Regular reports from the Zorgon detection systems showed the black hole's relentless progress. Entire star systems were vanishing, swallowed by the cosmic monster. The pressure was immense, and it began to take its toll. Arguments broke out among the scientists. Fatigue led to mistakes, and doubt started to creep in. Dr. Chen felt the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders. One night, as she sat alone in her office, staring at simulations that refused to align, there was a knock at her door. To her surprise, it was Zip-Zap, the young Zorgon who had first suggested involving humans. "Dr. Chen," Zip-Zap said, his metallic face somehow conveying concern, "I came to see how you're progressing." "The council is anxious," Samantha sighed, running a hand through her disheveled hair. "It's not going well," she admitted. "The theory is sound, but implementing it, we're missing something crucial." Zip-Zap moved closer, his four eyes blinking in sequence. "Perhaps I can help. I've been studying human history. Your people have a remarkable ability to find solutions in unexpected places." For the next few hours, human and Zorgon worked side by side. They pored over data, challenged each other's assumptions, and slowly, a new possibility began to emerge. As dawn broke, Dr. Chen's eyes widened. "That's it," she exclaimed, quickly inputting a new set of calculations. "We've been trying to counter the black hole's pull directly. But what if we instead create a series of smaller dark matter nets to gradually slow and redirect it?" Zip-Zap's metallic skin shimmered with excitement. Like a cosmic web, it would distribute the force, making it more manageable. The new approach reinvigorated the team. Over the next few days, the plan evolved rapidly. The single large DMD was replaced by designs for a fleet of smaller, more maneuverable craft, each carrying a scaled-down version of the device. As the final simulations ran, showing a clear path to success, a cheer went up in the facility. Humans hugged each other, cried, and laughed with relief. Even the alien observers seemed caught up in the moment, their earlier disdain replaced by grudging respect. But amid the celebration, Dr. Chen remained focused. She knew that developing the plan was only the first step. Now came the truly dangerous part, implementing it. Addressing the team, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, she said, "We've done the impossible here. We found a way to save the galaxy. But now we need to prove that humans aren't just clever. We're brave too. We need volunteers to pilot these crafts into the heart of danger." A hush fell over the room. The reality of what lay ahead sank in. They would be flying directly towards the most destructive force in the universe, with only their ingenuity and courage as shields. For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, hands began to rise. First one, then another, then dozens. Scientists, engineers, and pilots all stepped forward, ready to risk everything to save not just humanity, but all sentient life. As Dr. Chen looked out at the volunteers, a lump formed in her throat. This was humanity at its finest, brilliant, determined, and unafraid to face the ultimate challenge. The galaxy had called them cowards, but now they would show everyone the true meaning of courage. The stage was set. The plan was ready. Now, it was time for humanity to take its greatest leap into the unknown. As news of the human plan spread across the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Many alien species, long accustomed to viewing humans as primitive and cowardly, found it hard to believe that this backwater race could succeed where the most advanced civilizations had failed. On Zorg Prime, the Galactic Council convened once again to discuss the human proposal. The Grand Hall, which had once echoed with mockery of humans, now buzzed with uncertain murmurs. Ambassador Kraz Full stood at the center, his metallic face contorted in a mix of disbelief and frustration. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his voice booming across the chamber, "the humans claim to have found a solution to our impending doom. They propose to launch a fleet of small ships, each carrying a device to manipulate dark matter and create a cosmic web to slow and redirect the black hole." A ripple of whispers swept through the assembled aliens. The Flexians wobbled with skepticism, their gelatinous bodies shimmering under the hall's lights. The Xin clicked their mandibles rapidly, a sign of agitation. "Preposterous," shouted Gaxanor, the Xin war chief. "How can we trust the fate of the galaxy to a species that hasn't even colonized its own solar system? This is typical human cowardice in disguise, a plan so complex it's bound to fail, giving them an excuse to flee while we perish." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council. Many found comfort in dismissing the human plan, preferring to cling to their long-held beliefs about humanity's inadequacy. Zip-Zap, the young Zorgan who had worked alongside Dr. Chen, stepped forward. "But what if they're right?" he asked, his voice small but steady. "I've seen their work. It's innovative, unlike anything we've considered." His words were met with derisive laughter. An elder Zorgan sneered, "Young one, your fascination with human culture has clouded your judgment. Their plan is nothing more than a fanciful dream, a child's drawing compared to the sophisticated strategies our greatest minds have produced." As the debate raged on, holographic displays flickered to life, showing the human preparations on Earth. The aliens watched with a mix of curiosity and disdain as the small fleet of DMD-equipped ships took shape. "Look at those tiny vessels," scoffed a Flexian diplomat. "How do they expect to confront a galaxy-devouring black hole with such puny craft? It's suicide." "Perhaps that's their true plan," a Xin strategist chittered. "To martyr themselves and gain the galaxy's sympathy. Clever, but ultimately useless." Even those who didn't outright dismiss the plan found reasons to doubt. The Quantum Collective, a hive mind of energy beings, pulsed with skepticism. The humans' understanding of dark matter is rudimentary at best. The chances of their plan succeeding are infinitesimally small. As the council debated, reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy. More star systems had vanished, swallowed by the ever-approaching black hole. Fear began to overshadow skepticism, and some council members started to waver. "What other choice do we have?" asked a typically silent representative of the gaseous nebulons. "Our own plans have failed. Even if the human idea is flawed, isn't a small chance better than none?" This sentiment began to grow, albeit slowly. The council found itself torn between their ingrained dismissal of human capabilities and the desperate need for any solution, no matter how unlikely. As the debate stretched on, a message arrived from Earth. Dr. Samantha Chen, her face tired but determined, appeared on the central holographic display. honorable members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice clear and unwavering. We understand your doubts. We know our history in the galactic community. But right now, none of that matters. We stand on the brink of annihilation, and we have a plan. We don't ask for your approval or your praise. We ask only for the chance to try. Her words hung in the air, challenging the Council's preconceptions. Some scoffed, some pondered, and some felt a grudging respect beginning to form. In the end, the Council reached an uneasy consensus. They would not endorse the human plan, but neither would they stand in its way. Earth would be allowed to proceed, though few expected any real success. As the Council adjourned, the aliens departed with mixed emotions. Skepticism still reigned, but underneath, a tiny seed of hope had been planted. Perhaps, just perhaps, these humans would surprise them all. Back on Earth, unaware of the galactic doubts, the human team continued their preparations. In the face of universal skepticism, they remained focused on the task ahead. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of those who had long been dismissed as cowards. The stage was set for humanity's greatest challenge, and potentially its finest hour. The mood on Earth was tense as world leaders gathered in New York City for an emergency United Nations session. The cavernous General Assembly Hall was packed, with representatives from every nation present. The air buzzed with a mixture of fear, hope, and determination. At the podium stood Dr. Samantha Chen, her face projected on giant screens around the world. Billions watched and listened as she explained the plan to save the galaxy and the risks involved. Members of the United Nations, citizens of Earth, she began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. We stand at a crossroads. Our plan to stop the black hole is ready, but its execution comes with great danger. We will be sending our bravest into the heart of this cosmic threat. Many of them may not return. A hushed silence fell over the assembly. The reality of what they were about to undertake sank in. This wasn't just a scientific mission. It was potentially a sacrifice on a scale humanity had never faced before. The Secretary General, a tall woman with graying hair, stepped forward. Dr. Chen, you're asking us to risk not just the lives of our volunteers, but potentially the safety of our entire planet. If this plan fails, won't we be left defenseless against the black hole? Dr. Chen nodded solemnly. You're right, Madam Secretary General. There are no guarantees, but if we do nothing, our fate is sealed. At least this way, we have a chance, not just to save ourselves, but all life in the galaxy. Debate erupted among the delegates. Some argued passionately for the mission, seeing it as humanity's duty to the cosmic community. Others counseled caution, fearful of the potential consequences of failure. As the discussion raged, a surprise guest appeared on the central screen. It was Zip Zap, the young Zorgan who had worked with Dr. Chen. His metallic face shimmered with emotion as he addressed the assembly. People of Earth, he said, his translator conveying the earnestness in his voice, I know my kind has mocked and belittled you for centuries, but I've seen your determination, your creativity, your courage. The galaxy may doubt you, but I believe in you. Please, don't let fear hold you back now. His words had a profound effect. Here was an alien, a member of the race that had long ridiculed humanity, now standing up for Earth's potential. It stirred something deep in the hearts of those present. As the debate continued, more voices from around the world joined in. A group of students from a small village in Kenya sent a viral video pledging their support. Workers from a factory in China offered to work around the clock to produce any necessary components. Scientists from rival nations put aside their differences, volunteering to collaborate. Gradually, a wave of unity began to sweep across the globe. Humans from all walks of life, all cultures, all beliefs began to come together. They were afraid, yes, but they were also filled with a sense of purpose. This was humanity's moment to prove itself, not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. After hours of intense discussion, the Secretary General called for a vote. The question was simple but monumental. Would Earth proceed with the mission to save the galaxy? As votes were cast, the world held its breath. Families huddled around view screens, co-workers paused their tasks to watch, and even in the busiest cities, a hush fell as people waited for the result. Finally, the Secretary General stood to announce the decision. Her voice rang out, clear and resolute. With an overwhelming majority, the United Nations has voted to proceed with the mission. We, the people of Earth, choose to stand and fight for our galaxy. Cheers erupted in the assembly hall and were echoed around the world. In that moment, humanity stood united as never before. They had chosen to risk everything in the name of saving not just themselves, but all sentient life. As the celebration died down, Dr. Chen took the podium one last time. "Thank you all for your trust and your courage," she said, her eyes shining with emotion. "Now we have work to do. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." With the decision made, Earth sprang into action. The chosen pilots began their final training. Engineers worked tirelessly to perfect the DMD ships. People from every nation contributed in whatever way they could, big or small. As news of Earth's decision spread across the stars, the alien races watched in astonishment. Many still doubted, some even scoffed, but others began to look at the humans in a new light. Perhaps these strange, young creatures had more to offer than anyone had realized. The stage was set. Humanity had made its choice. Now, they would embark on the most daring mission in the history of the galaxy. The fate of everything rested on their shoulders, and they were ready to prove that they were anything but cowards. The day of the mission dawned bright and clear. At spaceports around the world, a fleet of sleek, silver ships stood ready. Each one carried a dark matter deflector, the fruit of humanity's ingenuity and hope. The air buzzed with nervous energy as final preparations were made. At Mission Control in Houston, Dr. Samantha Chen stood before the assembled pilots. Men and women from every corner of the globe, they represented the best and bravest Earth had to offer. Their faces were a mix of determination and barely concealed fear. "Today, we embark on the most important journey in human history," Dr. Chen said, her voice steady. "Each of you carries the hopes of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and know that all of humanity stands with you." As the pilots boarded their ships, crowds gathered to watch. Families hugged their loved ones goodbye, many with tears in their eyes. This could be the last time they saw each other. Yet there was pride too, an overwhelming sense that they were part of something greater than themselves. At precisely 1200 hours GMT, the countdown began. The world held its breath as the numbers ticked down. 10, 9, 8. In the lead ship, Captain Maria Rodriguez closed her eyes briefly, thinking of her daughter back home. 7, 6, 5. In Mission Control, Dr. Chen gripped the edge of her console, her knuckles white. 4, 3, 2. Around the world, billions watched, hoped, and prayed. 1. Liftoff. With a deafening roar, the DMD fleet rose into the sky. Cheers erupted from the watching crowds as the ships quickly became tiny specks, then vanished from sight altogether. As Earth receded behind them, the fleet of 50 ships formed up for their long journey. They would travel faster than any human craft had before, pushing the limits of the technology Dr. Chen and her team had developed. Days passed as they hurtled through space. The crew maintained a brave face, but the tension was palpable. They traded stories of home, sang songs, and tried to keep their minds off the monumental task ahead. Finally, after a week of travel, they reached their destination. Before them loomed the black hole, a monstrous void that seemed to devour light itself. Even from a distance, they could feel its immense gravitational pull tugging at their ships. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comms. "All ships, assume formation Alpha. Prepare to activate DMDs on my mark." The fleet spread out, forming a wide net in space. Each ship was a node in what they hoped would become a cosmic web, strong enough to slow and redirect the black hole. DMD activation in 3, 2, 1. Mark. 50 switches were flipped simultaneously. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, beams of energy burst forth from each ship, connecting them in a glowing lattice of light. "Energy web stable," reported the science officer, beginning dark matter manipulation. The real work had begun. Hour after hour, the human fleet labored, adjusting their positions constantly to maintain the web. It was grueling, precision work. The slightest miscalculation could spell disaster. Back on Earth, and indeed across the galaxy, all eyes were on the mission. Alien races that had once mocked humans now watched in growing awe as these primitive beings battled against the very fabric of space-time. As the hours stretched into days, signs of hope began to emerge. Readings showed the black hole's path beginning to alter ever so slightly. "It's working." Dr. Chen's excited voice rang out in mission control. "The black hole's trajectory is changing." A cheer went up, quickly echoed around the world. But their celebration was premature. Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. The black hole's gravitational force was increasing, threatening to tear apart the energy web. "All ships, full power to the DMDs," Captain Rodriguez ordered, her voice tense but controlled. The human fleet poured every ounce of energy they had into their devices. Ships groaned under the strain, systems flashing warning signs everywhere. In the midst of the chaos, a lone ship broke formation. It was piloted by Lieutenant Wei Chang, a quiet man who had said little during the journey. "Chang, what are you doing?" Rodriguez demanded. "What needs to be done, Captain?" came the calm reply. "Tell my family I love them." Before anyone could stop him, Chang piloted his ship directly towards the black hole. As he crossed the event horizon, his DMD unleashed a massive pulse of energy. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The black hole's pull lessened, allowing the rest of the fleet to stabilize their web. For several tense minutes, they held their positions, pouring every last bit of power into the DMDs. Slowly, gradually, the black hole's path continued to shift. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the sensors confirmed what they had hoped for. The black hole's new trajectory would take it safely past inhabited space into a remote area of the galaxy. Exhausted but triumphant, the human fleet began their journey home. They had done it. Against all odds, they had saved the galaxy. As news of their success spread, the humans who had once been mocked as cowards were hailed as heroes. The galaxy would never be the same again. The return journey of the human fleet was marked by a mixture of exhaustion, grief, and elation. As they approached Earth, they were met with a sight none of them had expected. The space around their home planet was filled with alien ships from every corner of the galaxy, all there to welcome the heroes who had saved them all. As the fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, cheers erupted around the globe. Streets filled with celebrating people, hugging strangers, and weeping with joy. The nightmare was over, and humanity had proven itself beyond anyone's wildest dreams. In the days that followed, Earth became the center of galactic attention. Representatives from countless alien races arrived, eager to meet the species they had once dismissed as cowards. The United Nations headquarters in New York City was transformed into a hub of intergalactic diplomacy. Dr. Samantha Chen, now hailed as one of the greatest scientific minds in the galaxy, found herself addressing a gathering of alien leaders. The same beings who had once mocked human science now listened to her with rapt attention. "The success of our mission," Dr. Chen said, her voice carrying across the Grand Hall, "was not just about advanced technology. It was about courage, sacrifice, and the strength we find when we stand together. Humanity has always believed in facing our challenges head-on, not through aggression, but through innovation and cooperation." As she spoke, holographic images appeared, showing key moments from Earth's history. The aliens watched in fascination as they saw humans healing the sick, exploring the depths of their oceans, and reaching out to the stars. "You call us cowards," Dr. Chen continued, because we chose diplomacy over war, cooperation over conquest. But true courage isn't about who has the biggest weapons or who can shout the loudest. It's about standing up for what's right, even when the odds are against you. It's about being willing to risk everything, not just for your own people, but for all people or beings everywhere. The alien leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats, many feeling a sense of shame for their past treatment of humans. Ambassador Krasful, the once haughty Zorgan diplomat, stood up. "Dr. Chen," he said, his metallic face managing to convey regret, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our deepest apologies for our past behavior. We misjudged your species greatly. Your actions have not only saved us all, but have taught us a valuable lesson about the true nature of courage and wisdom." One by one, other alien leaders stood, echoing Krasful's sentiments. The Flexians wobbled in what humans would come to learn was their version of a bow. The Xin performed a complex mandible-clicking sequence that signified deep respect. As the gathering concluded, a new era of galactic cooperation was born. Humanity, far from being the laughingstock of the galaxy, was now seen as a young but immensely promising species, with much to offer. In the months that followed, the effects of humanity's triumph rippled across the stars. Earth became a center for scientific and cultural exchange. Alien students flocked to human universities, eager to learn the unique problem-solving approaches that had saved the galaxy. Human art, music, and literature, once dismissed as primitive, became sought-after commodities in far-flung star systems. The concept of democracy, long seen as a quaint human notion, began to take root on worlds that had known only authoritarian rule for millennia. But perhaps the most profound change was in how other species began to approach conflict. The human way of seeking peaceful solutions and using innovation to overcome challenges started to influence galactic politics. Slowly but surely, the galaxy was becoming a more cooperative, less warlike place. On the first anniversary of the mission, a grand memorial was unveiled in Geneva, home of the facility where the plan had been born. At its center stood a holographic representation of the DMD fleet, with Lieutenant Wei Chang's ship given a place of honor. The base of the memorial bore a simple inscription: "To the brave souls who risked everything for all." As Dr. Chen stood before the memorial, surrounded by a mix of humans and aliens, she felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged stronger than ever. They had proven to the galaxy and to themselves that courage came in many forms, and that the human spirit was capable of incredible things. The stars, once a source of ridicule for humanity, now represented infinite possibilities. As the sun set on the memorial ceremony, Dr. Chen looked up at the darkening sky, her heart full of hope for the future. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through force or fear, but through bravery, innovation, and an unwavering belief in the power of working together. The galaxy would never be the same again, and neither would humanity. They had been called cowards, but they had proven everyone wrong. And in doing so, they had changed the course of cosmic history forever.